This is Sombra. Tonight I'll tell you a story that happened to me and my friends here in Turkey. A story about people who believed they were fearless. People who thought the world belonged to them. That the forest at night was nothing more than an aesthetic backdrop, and that fear was a feeling reserved for the weak. But the most terrifying thing in life is not the darkness itself. The true horror begins when you realize that something inside the darkness is staring back at you. This is the story of how our fearlessness became our biggest mistake, and why I never, ever leave my phone in airplane mode when I'm in the mountains anymore. Because one night, my phone saved my life. I always thought I wasn't afraid of the dark. Not because I was some kind of hero. I just grew up near the mountains, the canyons, the abandoned trails. As kids, we slept in tents, jumped over campfires, listened to stories about jinns, and laughed at them. Fear, we treated it like a childish thing, a weakness for people who grew up in big cities and only saw nature on Instagram. Maybe that's why, one night in late September, we decided to go camping again. Just the four of us, me, Mert, Aylin, and Kayhan, the group that always pretended nothing could scare us. Camping, tonight? Aylin asked when we met at the parking lot. Exactly tonight, Mert smirked. That's our style. I remember thinking we looked like teenagers who had been given freedom and a car. Only Kayhan looked more grounded, more mature, though even he pretended he liked this game of bravery. We chose a spot near Goynuk, deep in the forest. There was an old canyon and a wooden platform between tall pines where tourists rarely went. We had been there a couple of times before, and every time the place looked different. The trees stood at new angles. The shadows fell in strange directions. The air felt heavier. But none of us imagined that this night would be different from all the others. We were laughing, listening to music, talking about who would be the first to jump into the freezing water in the morning. But when we turned onto the old forest road, something caught our attention. A wooden sign by the side of the path, Korkusuzlar Yolu, the road of the fearless. I thought it was a joke someone from the nearby village put up for fun, but the wood was faded. The letters weren't fresh, and nothing around looked modern. Fearless, that's literally us, Mert laughed. Too dramatic, Aylin replied. What's wrong? You scared? He teased. She didn't answer. She just looked out the window, and I swear, her smile trembled for half a second. The forest grew thicker. Branches hung lower than they should. A thin layer of fog rested on the ground. Strange for this time of day. But we didn't stop. Of course not. We were the fearless ones, even though something quiet inside me started to itch. A kind of warning I didn't want to acknowledge. By the time we reached the platform, the sun was gone completely. The darkness fell so fast it felt like someone had switched off the entire sky. We stepped out of the car, and immediately I felt it. The air was wrong, too dense, too cold, too still. I touched the car door. It was freezing, and just hours earlier it had been 27 degrees outside. Did the weather change suddenly? Kayhan asked. Nobody answered, because something else demanded our attention. The silence. A silence so unnatural, so absolute, that we all turned our heads at the same time. No crickets, No birds, not even the soft hum of wind moving through the trees. The whole forest was holding its breath. I opened the trunk, grabbed my flashlight, and scanned the trees. The beam slid over the trunks and caught something carved into the bark. 2 sentences. Fear is not real. And below it, fresh and sharp. But something else is. I didn't even have time to read it out loud, because Mert whispered, "Do you feel that too?" And in that moment I realized something. Our fearlessness was just a mask, a cheap costume we wore for each other. And the real fear, the kind that comes from places older than any story, was only beginning to rise from behind the trees. The air grew colder, not the kind of chill that comes with nightfall, but something deeper, heavier, like the cold of a place untouched by life. Mert kicked a small stone on the ground, pretending to be relaxed. "It's just the mountains," he said, though his voice didn't sound convinced. "Mountains don't do this," Kayhan replied quietly. Aylin stood closest to me. I felt her hand brush my arm, not intentionally, just instinctively seeking something human in that unnatural stillness. I turned on my flashlight again. The beam cut through the air like a blade, but something strange happened. Usually light reflects off moisture, leaves, fog, but here, the light felt swallowed, absorbed, as if the darkness was thicker than it should be. "Do you hear that?" Aylin whispered. At first I thought she meant the silence, but then I heard it too. A faint sound, far away, low, dragging, almost like a breath. No, not breathing, more like inhaling, slowly, deeply, as if something enormous was learning the shape of the forest through sound. Kayhan turned slowly toward the trees. "It's coming from the canyon," he said. He was right. The canyon was just beyond the slope, a dark crack in the earth, deep and narrow, a place where your voice didn't echo. It disappeared. We decided to set up camp anyway. Because of pride, because of stupidity, because fearless was a role we didn't know how to stop playing. Mert was fooling around, pretending to howl like a wolf. Aylin laughed nervously. Kayhan ignored them and started putting up the tent. But I kept glancing toward the canyon. That sound, that slow, dragging inhale, it kept coming back. Quiet, but deliberate, like something was adjusting itself, listening, testing the air. And then something happened that made my skin crawl. I turned away for just a moment, but when I looked back toward the canyon, I saw a shape. Not a person, not an animal, something between the trees. Just a silhouette, tall, too tall, motionless, as if carved from the night. I froze. My heart slammed against my ribs. "What is it?" Aylin asked, noticing my expression. I didn't answer. I couldn't, because the silhouette wasn't standing still anymore. It shifted, barely, but enough. Not forward, not backward. It tilted, like a head turning. But the movement was wrong. Too smooth, too fluid, as if joints weren't meant to bend that way. My flashlight flickered. The beam trembled, and then the shape straightened slowly and slid deeper into the dark. Not walked, not stepped. Slid, like a shadow being pulled by invisible fingers. I finally spoke. Someone's there. Kayhan lifted his head. Where? But when he pointed the flashlight, the place was empty. No shape, no movement, just that swallowing darkness. Probably another camper, Mert said, though even he didn't sound convinced. No camper would stand without light. No camper would move like that. No camper would stay silent in a forest this quiet. Aylin stepped closer to me. I don't want to stay here. Something feels wrong. Kayhan exhaled slowly. We stay together. No wandering off, no separating. If something is in the woods, we face it as a group. Face what? Aylin snapped. You don't even know what you saw. I didn't answer, because saying it out loud would make it real, and I wasn't ready for that. Yet. As we prepared the fire, the dragging inhale from the canyon grew louder. This time, it didn't feel distant. It felt like it was beneath us, as if something inside the canyon had climbed a little closer, a little higher, a little too aware of our presence. I looked at my friends, brave on the outside, pale on the inside. For the first time that night, I understood one thing clearly. Fearlessness isn't the absence of fear. Sometimes it's just ignorance, and something in that canyon was about to correct that. The fire finally caught, though the flames looked weak, almost hesitant, as if even the fire didn't want to stay here. We sat close together. No one joked anymore, not even Mert. The dragging inhale from the canyon came again, except now, it wasn't just a sound. I felt it, a faint vibration in the ground beneath me, a pulse, slow and heavy, like something massive shifting in the depths. Tell me you felt that, I whispered. Kayhan nodded. Aylin grabbed his sleeve. And then, from somewhere in the darkness, a branch snapped. Sharp. Close. Too close. I shone my flashlight toward the trees. Nothing. Just darkness so thick it absorbed the light. But then I noticed something behind us. The car, the back door, was slightly open. I froze. Did anyone open the car? No. No. Absolutely not. My throat tightened. I stepped closer to the car, slowly, silently, every instinct in my body screaming not to. I raised the flashlight, and that's when I saw it. On the dusty window, someone had drawn a shape, a long vertical smear, like a finger sliding slowly downward. But the problem was, it was drawn from the inside. Aylin gasped. Mert swore under his breath. Kayhan grabbed my wrist. Back to the fire, now. What if it's still inside? Aylin whispered. If it wanted to come out, it already would have, Kayhan said. His voice was steady, but his hand was shaking. Then the inhale came again, but this time, right after it, came something else. An exhale, warm, moist, too close. The fire flickered violently, bending toward the canyon as if pushed by a huge, invisible force. Aylin screamed. Mert stood up, grabbing a burning stick like a weapon. I turned, and that's when I saw it again. The silhouette I had seen earlier. Except now it wasn't far away. It was standing between two trees, still, tall, wrongly tall. Its head tilted slowly, exactly like before, observing us. But the worst part wasn't the shape. It was what happened next. My phone, inside my pocket, lit up. No signal, no notifications, just one thing, a photo preview. A photo taken seconds ago. My hand shook as I opened it. The photo was taken from behind us, from somewhere in the tree line. In the picture, we were sitting around the fire, and behind us, towering over us in the darkness, was the silhouette, closer than it appeared in real life. So close its outline blurred at the edges. So close its shadow touched the ground near my feet. "This thing is taking pictures of us," I whispered. Before anyone could react, my phone vibrated again. Another photo. But this one wasn't from the forest. It was a close-up of my face, taken from behind me, right over my shoulder. I didn't feel anyone there. I didn't hear anything. I didn't sense breath, heat, presence. But something had been standing behind me minutes ago, and I never noticed. Aylin broke down crying. Mert grabbed her and pulled her toward the car. That was when the entire forest exhaled again. The sound was so loud it shook the branches. The silhouette stepped forward, not walked, stepped. One clear, deliberate step. Kayhan shouted, "Run! To the car! Now!" We didn't hesitate. We sprinted. Branches slashed at our arms and faces. The air felt thick, like trying to run through water. I didn't dare look back. Aylin screamed something. I couldn't understand the words, but it made my blood turn cold. Because she wasn't screaming, "Go!" She was screaming, "It's behind us! It's behind us!" We reached the car. Mert yanked the door. We threw ourselves inside. I slammed the locks. Kayhan started the engine, or tried to. Click, click. Silence. "No, no, no," he whispered. Outside, the silhouette stopped directly in front of the car. And then it bent down, slowly, smoothly, until its head aligned perfectly with the windshield. There was no face, just darkness, a shape where a face should have been. It tilted its head again. My phone lit up once more. A new photo. I didn't want to look, but I did. It was a photo taken from directly outside the windshield. A picture of all four of us inside the car. Except there was a fifth shape, a tall, shadowed figure, standing in the back seat, right behind me. I turned around instantly. Nothing. Just darkness. The engine roared to life. Kayhan hit the gas so hard we flew forward, the car bouncing over the rough ground. The silhouette vanished behind the trees in an instant, swallowed by the forest. We didn't stop driving until we reached the main road, until the stars looked normal again, until sound returned to the world. None of us talked. None of us slept that night. When we checked the car the next morning, Everything seemed normal, except for one thing. Inside the car window, the same one where the smear had been, there was a new mark, a fingertip mark, pressed firmly, as if something touched the glass from the outside trying to get in. But the truth, the shape in the photo, it wasn't outside, it was already with us. And sometimes late at night, when my phone lights up on its own, I see that preview window again. A photo of me, taken from behind, like something is still standing there and waiting. This was Sombra. If you want to hear the next story, subscribe before it finds you first.